the FIFA World Cup came to the United States, and something unexpected happened. It could be seen in the streets, in the diners, in the Walmarts and Costcos, in the Trader Joe's stores. The visitors just fell in love with America. And all of that might have gotten ruined as something equally shocking happened in the final minutes of the trophy ceremony at MetLife Stadium. The moment that the entire world had been watching took a turn that nobody had expected. Donald Trump, who had inserted himself into this tournament from the very beginning, through visa denials, through disputed referee decisions, through the sheer gravitational pull of his need to be at the center of every story, stepped onto that stage. What happened next went viral within minutes. But let's go to days before the tournament began. A common concern circulated among fans from Europe, South America, and beyond who were making the trip. America, they had been told, was politically divided, expensive, chaotic, and unwelcoming, especially after the Trump administration had denied visas to fans from several countries, restricted entry for nationals from others, and generated international headlines for a visa process that had become complex and expensive for many. What they found when they arrived was something different entirely. British fans who had expected hostility found extraordinary warmth. Fans from across Europe who had braced for indifference found locals going out of their way to welcome them, learn about their countries, show them around neighborhoods, and make them feel at home in American cities they had never visited. The hospitality that the American public showed to the hundreds of thousands of international visitors became one of the defining stories of the tournament. The gap between the political narrative about America and the lived reality of actually being there, in the cities, among the people, was wider than most visitors had anticipated. Multiple groups of Europeans were filmed saying variations of the same thing. They had never experienced anything like this. The kindness, the openness, the genuine interest that ordinary Americans showed in the visitors who had come from the other side of the world to watch football in their country. This was not the version of America that had been on the front pages of European newspapers. It was something else, something that a lot of people had not expected to find. The 2026 World Cup produced an unexpected retail phenomenon. Visitors, particularly British and European fans who had come for the football and stayed longer than they planned, began filling their suitcases with American products before flying home. Not traditional souvenirs, but the everyday items. Ranch dressing, barbecue seasonings that did not exist in equivalent form anywhere in Europe. Trader Joe's snacks and flavors that made people immediately calculate how many bags they could carry. Walmart finds at prices that European shoppers found genuinely difficult to process. Sizes and quantities and price points that simply had no equivalent in British or German or French supermarkets. Skincare products, candy, hot sauces, breakfast cereals, protein bars with flavors that European manufacturers had not thought of yet. What started as window shopping at these enormous American stores became one of the most memorable parts of their trip. Videos of tourists discovering Costco for the first time, the sheer scale of the building, the warehouse ceilings, the products sold, went viral in the UK with millions of views. The consistent reaction, disbelief followed by immediate purchasing. For many visitors, shopping at American grocery stores became something they genuinely talked about more than some of the football matches, which, given the quality of the football, was itself a significant statement about how much America had exceeded expectations. Now coming to the FIFA World Cup final. It was the kind of match that football produces once a generation. Argentina, under pressure from their own fans who desperately wanted this victory for Messi's legacy, played the kind of football that tested everyone's patience. The referee decision drew fury from both sets of supporters throughout. A Spanish goal was controversially disallowed. Argentina's players threw themselves to the ground at moments that drew visible frustration from the neutrals in the crowd. And then Trump's image appeared on the MetLife Stadium big screen. Sections of the crowd, which included supporters of both Spain and Argentina, responded with audible booing. It happened twice. The sound was visible enough to be reported in real time by every broadcaster covering the event. The trophy moment itself produced the image of the night. As Spain's captain Rodri prepared to lift the World Cup, Trump moved forward onto the podium, into the frame, into the celebration, into a moment that belonged to the players who had just fought for 120 minutes to earn it. Rodri's expression, caught clearly on camera, communicated everything. Infantino, who had been tracking Trump's movements throughout the ceremony, scrambled across the stage to intervene, eventually steering Trump to the side as Rodri lifted the trophy. The sequence was filmed from multiple angles and was circulating across every platform before the final whistle celebrations had finished. Trump briefly went in the wrong direction. For context, Trump had spent the week before the final publicly attacking Spain's government at the NATO summit, calling Spain a terrible partner, threatening economic retaliation over defense spending commitments, and demanding that European allies contribute more to military efforts in the Middle East. Days later, he was on stage handing medals to the Spanish squad and standing beside their captain as they lifted the trophy. The World Cup gave the world two versions of America in the space of a single summer, and the contrast between them became the story that outlasted the football itself. The version that the international visitors experienced on the ground, in the cities, in the neighborhoods, in the stores, in the interactions, left most visitors genuinely surprised. The concern that preceded the tournament, driven by the political climate and the early headline-generating moments around visa denials and tournament interference, largely dissolved with the actual reality of being in America, among Americans, watching football. British fans who had arrived nervous left, saying they wanted to come back. European visitors who had expected a difficult experience found themselves rearranging their suitcases to fit in the things they had bought and could not leave without. The second version was the one the world saw on the podium at MetLife Stadium, and it produced a different reaction entirely. Trump's moment on the podium left a different kind of impression, one that was considerably harder to manage. Somewhere between these two truths, a trophy presentation ceremony became the most watched, most shared, most talked about moment of the entire tournament. Not just for the football, but for everything that happened around it.